Welcome to today's episode. Today, we are going to talk about the rise and fall of dinosaurs, not as monsters, not as movie characters, but as living beings that once shaped the world in ways almost impossible to imagine. Before we begin, take a moment to picture the Earth as it once was, not the Earth we know today, but a planet that felt unfamiliar, unstable, and unfinished. There were no cities, no roads, no human voices. The continents themselves were still learning where they belonged. Around 250 million years ago, life on Earth had just survived one of the greatest catastrophes it would ever face. A mass extinction so severe that nearly all living species disappeared. Forests collapsed, oceans emptied. The world fell quiet, but from that silence, something new began to stir. At first, the creatures that emerged were small, light, cautious. They moved low to the ground, often in the shadows of much larger reptiles that dominated the land at the time. These early ancestors of dinosaurs did not look powerful. They did not rule anything. They were simply survivors. The world they lived in was harsh and unpredictable. Volcanoes erupted frequently. The climate swung between extremes. Vast deserts stretched across the land, broken only by rivers and sparse vegetation. Oxygen levels were lower than today, and survival required constant adaptation. Slowly, over millions of years, these small creatures changed. Their legs moved beneath their bodies instead of sprawling outward. This single shift, subtle but important, allowed them to move more efficiently and for longer periods without exhaustion. It gave them endurance in a world where energy was precious. While other reptiles relied on bursts of speed, these early dinosaurs could walk, run, and hunt for extended periods. They could travel farther, explore more, escape danger when needed. At the same time, the Earth itself was changing. All the continents were joined together in a vast supercontinent called Pangaea. There were no oceans separating lands, no natural barriers to movement. Animals could migrate freely across enormous distances, following food, water, and favorable climates. This openness gave dinosaurs an advantage. They spread quietly, gradually, adapting to different environments as they went. Some became hunters. Others learned to survive on plants. Their diversity increased, not through sudden leaps, but through steady experimentation by nature. Then came another turning point. A series of volcanic eruptions reshaped the planet yet again. Gases filled the atmosphere. Temperatures rose. Many dominant species of the time could not adapt quickly enough. Dinosaurs could. Their efficient movement, flexible diets, and evolving body plans allowed them to survive, while others vanished. And as competitors disappeared, space opened up ecological space. Forests regrew. New plants appeared. Insects flourished. Rivers carved fresh paths through the land. Dinosaurs stepped into these empty roles, not by force, but by persistence. Some grew larger, taking advantage of abundant plant life. Others sharpened their senses and coordination, becoming precise hunters. Over time, body sizes increased dramatically. What began as small, almost overlooked animals slowly transformed into giants. But this growth was never rushed. For tens of millions of years, dinosaurs evolved quietly, refining their forms. They did not dominate overnight. Their rise was patient, shaped by countless small changes that accumulated over time. By the time dinosaurs truly became the dominant animals on land, they had already been evolving for longer than humans have existed as a species. And still, they were not alone. Early mammals lived alongside them, tiny, nocturnal creatures that stayed hidden, waiting for their own time. The world was layered with life, each species occupying its own space, each adapting in its own way. Dinosaurs were not invincible rulers. They were participants in a vast, balanced system. They thrived because the world allowed them to. As the Triassic period slowly gave way to the Jurassic, dinosaurs began to take forms that feel more familiar to us today. Necks grew longer, bodies grew heavier. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4. Feathers began to appear on certain species, though their purpose was not yet flight. The Earth had entered what would become the age of dinosaurs, and this age would last far longer than most people realize. But for now, this was only the beginning. In the next part, we will explore how dinosaurs transformed the planet itself, reshaping landscapes, ecosystems, and the balance of life, and how their golden age truly began. For now, let the image of that early world remain with you. A young planet, healing from disaster, quietly giving rise to creatures that would one day leave footprints still visible millions of years later. As the Jurassic period unfolded, the Earth entered a long phase of stability. The violent upheavals that once reshaped the planet became less frequent, and in that steadiness, life had room to expand. Warm temperatures spread across much of the world. Rainfall increased. Vast forests of ferns, cycads, and towering conifers covered the land. Rivers flowed slowly through open plains, and shallow seas crept inland, creating rich coastal environments. This was the world in which dinosaurs truly flourished. One of the most remarkable changes during this time was size. Over millions of years, certain plant-eating dinosaurs grew larger than anything that had ever walked on land before. Long-necked giants moved carefully through forests, their immense bodies supported by thick, pillar-like legs. Their necks allowed them to feed from high branches without moving their massive frames, conserving energy in a world where efficiency mattered. These enormous animals were not slow in the way we often imagine. Their bones were filled with air pockets, reducing weight. Their hearts were powerful, pushing blood across bodies longer than a bus. Every part of them was shaped by balance between strength and survival. As plant eaters expanded, so did predators. Large carnivorous dinosaurs evolved alongside them, their senses sharpening with each generation. Vision improved, coordination increased. Their brains, though small compared to their bodies, became more specialized. They learned to judge distance, track movement, and strike with precision. But hunting was not always a solitary act. Some predators began to move in groups, coordinating their actions in ways that hint at early social behavior. Others relied on ambush, blending into forest shadows before revealing themselves in sudden motion. This dynamic between hunter and hunted shaped the land itself. Vegetation patterns shifted as massive herbivores moved through forests, knocking down trees, opening clearings, and spreading seeds through their waste. Dinosaurs became gardeners of the ancient world, unknowingly shaping ecosystems as they fed. In this way, dinosaurs did not merely live on the planet. They actively transformed it. The continents, still drifting slowly apart from one another, created new environments. As land masses separated, dinosaur populations became isolated. Over time, isolation led to variation. Species adapted to local conditions, evolving distinct forms depending on climate, terrain, and available food. In some regions, dinosaurs developed armor, thick plates, and spikes that made them difficult targets. In others, speed became the key to survival. Long legs and lightweight bodies allowed certain species to outrun danger rather than confront it. Feathers became more common during this time, though not for flight. They likely served multiple purposes: insulation, display, and communication. Color patterns may have helped dinosaurs recognize each other, attract mates, or intimidate rivals. The idea of dinosaurs as dull, gray creatures fades quickly when viewed through this lens. The ancient world was likely filled with movement, sound, and color. As millions of years passed, dinosaurs became deeply embedded in every land ecosystem, from coastal plains to inland forests, from river valleys to dry uplands. They occupied nearly every available niche. Yet, despite their dominance, the world remained balanced. Small animals continued to exist beneath their feet. Insects thrived. Early mammals adapted to life in the shadows, developing sharper senses and flexible behaviors. Birds began to emerge from feathered dinosaur ancestors, experimenting with gliding and short bursts of flight. Life was layered, interconnected, and resilient. But stability never lasts forever. Toward the end of the Jurassic, the Earth began to change once again. Sea levels shifted, climates fluctuated, new plant species appeared, altering food chains in subtle but important ways. Dinosaurs adapted, as they always had. But the pace of change was increasing. The next chapter of their story would be marked by even greater diversity, greater specialization, and eventually, the most iconic dinosaurs ever known. In the next part, we will enter the Cretaceous period, a time of innovation, expansion, and hidden vulnerability. When dinosaurs reached their peak and unknowingly approached the edge of their long reign. For now, let this world settle in your mind. A planet shaped by giants, guided by slow rhythms, where dominance did not mean control, but harmony with change. As the Cretaceous period began, the world entered a phase of extraordinary change. The continents continued to drift apart, oceans widened, and coastlines stretched farther than ever before. Shallow seas flooded low-lying land, creating warm, nutrient-rich environments that supported an explosion of life. This was the height of dinosaur diversity. Dinosaurs did not simply grow larger or stronger, they became more specialized. Evolution refined them into forms suited for very specific ways of living. Some grazed close to the ground, others fed high above the forest floor. Some relied on armor and defense, while others developed speed, agility, and intelligence. Among the plant eaters, new strategies emerged. Duck-billed dinosaurs evolved complex teeth arranged in dense batteries, allowing them to grind tough vegetation efficiently. Horned dinosaurs developed elaborate headgear, curved horns, bony frills, and ridges that varied from species to species. These structures were not just weapons, they were signals. They communicated strength, identity, and maturity. They may have played roles in social behavior, helping dinosaurs recognize members of their own species in vast herds that moved together across open plains. Herding itself became more common. Fossil evidence suggests that many dinosaurs lived and traveled in groups. Young individuals likely stayed close to adults, gaining protection through numbers. Migration patterns may have followed seasonal changes, leading herds across continents in search of food and water. Predators adapted in response. Some carnivores grew massive, relying on raw power and bone-crushing bites. Others remained smaller but faster, using sharp claws and coordination to bring down prey. Their senses sharpened further, especially vision and balance, giving them the ability to track movement with precision. One lineage of small, feathered predators continued to experiment with flight. What began as gliding from branch to branch slowly transformed into powered movement through the air. Wings grew stronger, feathers became more structured. Birds had arrived. They did not replace dinosaurs. They were dinosaurs, one branch of a much larger family tree, exploring a new way to move through the world. As dinosaurs diversified on land, plant life transformed alongside them. Flowering plants appeared and spread rapidly, reshaping landscapes. These plants grew faster than older vegetation and recovered quickly after being eaten or damaged. This shift changed food chains. Herbivores adapted to new diets. Insects evolved alongside flowers. Entire ecosystems reorganized themselves around this botanical revolution. From the outside, the world seemed vibrant and thriving. Dinosaurs ruled every landmass. Oceans were full. Forests stretched endlessly. Yet beneath this success, subtle pressures were building. As climates shifted, some regions became more seasonal. Temperatures fluctuated more dramatically. Sea levels rose and fell, repeatedly changing available habitats. Volcanic activity increased in certain areas, releasing gases that altered atmospheric chemistry. Dinosaurs adapted, but adaptation takes time. Their large body sizes, once an advantage, now became a constraint. Giants required vast amounts of food. Specialized species depended on specific plants or environments. The more refined a creature became, the less flexible it often was. Meanwhile, small animals quietly gained advantages of their own. Early mammals remained mostly unseen, living in burrows and undergrowth. They reproduced quickly, adapted rapidly, and survived on limited resources. Birds expanded into the skies, escaping many ground-based threats. The balance of life was shifting, slowly and invisibly. Dinosaurs still dominated the land, but dominance does not guarantee permanence. Ecosystems are dynamic, constantly responding to change. The same forces that once allowed dinosaurs to rise were now testing the limits of their adaptability. And then, near the end of the Cretaceous, the Earth faced an event unlike any it had experienced since the dawn of dinosaur life. An event that did not announce itself with gradual change. An event that arrived suddenly, violently, and without warning. In the next part, we will explore that moment. The impact that reshaped the planet, altered the course of evolution, and brought an end to one of the longest and most remarkable chapters in Earth's history. For now, hold onto the image of a world at its peak, full, complex, and alive, unaware that everything was about to change. Near the end of the Cretaceous period, the Earth appeared full and complete. Forests stretched across continents. Shallow seas shimmered under warm skies. Dinosaurs still moved across the land in immense numbers, their forms refined by more than 160 million years of evolution. From the outside, nothing seemed fragile. But stability can be misleading. Beneath the surface, the planet was already under strain. Volcanic activity increased in several regions, releasing enormous amounts of gas into the atmosphere. Climate patterns grew more erratic. Some areas experienced prolonged warmth, while others cooled unexpectedly. Sea levels rose and fell repeatedly, altering coastlines and disrupting established ecosystems. Life adapted, as it always had, but adaptation has limits. Then, approximately 66 million years ago, those limits were tested in a single moment. A massive asteroid, traveling faster than any natural process on Earth, struck the planet near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact was instantaneous, but its effects unfolded over years. The collision released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear explosions. Rock vaporized. Shockwaves raced across continents. Forests ignited from the heat alone, even thousands of kilometers away. The ground shook with a force never before experienced by life on Earth. Within minutes, tsunamis surged across ancient seas, drowning coastal ecosystems. Within hours, debris thrown into the atmosphere began to fall back to the surface, heating the air and igniting further fires. But the true devastation came not from the impact itself. It came from what followed. Dust, ash, and vaporized rock filled the atmosphere, blocking sunlight. Temperatures dropped rapidly. Photosynthesis slowed, then stopped. Plants began to die, not because they were destroyed, but because they could no longer grow. Food chains collapsed from the bottom up. Herbivorous dinosaurs, dependent on vast amounts of vegetation, were among the first to suffer. As plants disappeared, so did the animals that relied on them. Predators followed soon after, unable to find sufficient prey. The world entered a prolonged period of darkness and cold. For months, possibly years, sunlight struggled to reach the surface. Acid rain fell as atmospheric chemistry changed. Oceans cooled. Plankton populations declined, disrupting marine ecosystems just as severely as those on land. Dinosaurs, once so adaptable, now faced a crisis unlike any before. Their size worked against them. Large bodies required constant nourishment. Slow reproductive cycles limited their ability to recover quickly. Specialized diets left little room for flexibility. Some species may have survived the initial years, clinging to isolated environments where conditions were slightly more favorable. But survival required more than endurance. It required adaptability under extreme and sustained pressure. Most dinosaurs did not have that advantage, yet not all life vanished. Small animals fared better. Creatures that lived underground or in water were shielded from the worst effects. Those that required less food and reproduced quickly had a greater chance of survival. Early mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians endured, quietly waiting as the world transformed around them. Birds, descendants of small feathered dinosaurs, survived where their larger relatives did not. Their ability to fly, their smaller size, and their flexible diets gave them an edge in a broken world. In this way, dinosaurs did not disappear entirely. They changed. The asteroid did not end life on Earth. It redirected it. Over time, dust settled. Skies cleared. Sunlight returned. Plants slowly reclaimed the land, and ecosystems began to rebuild, not as they were before, but as something new. The age of dinosaurs, which had lasted longer than the entire span of human existence, multiplied many times over, came to an end. But their influence did not. In the final part, we will look at what dinosaurs left behind, how their extinction reshaped evolution, how their descendants still surround us today, and what their story reveals about life, change, and resilience on Earth. For now, allow this moment to linger. A world forever altered, not by gradual change, but by a single instant that reshaped the future of all life. After the dust settled and the skies slowly cleared, the Earth entered a long period of recovery. The world that emerged was quieter, emptier, and unfamiliar. Vast landscapes once shaped by enormous bodies and heavy footsteps now lay open, waiting to be filled again. Life returned carefully. Plants were among the first to reclaim the land. Hardy species spread across scorched ground, stabilizing soil and preparing the way for forests to grow again. Insects followed, then small animals, each rebuilding a piece of the ancient web of life. The absence of dinosaurs created space. For millions of years, they had dominated land ecosystems, limiting how large other animals could grow and how they could live. With that pressure gone, evolution began exploring new possibilities. Mammals, once small and mostly hidden, stepped into these open roles. They diversified rapidly, adapting to environments that had once been unreachable. Some grew larger, others developed new behaviors, new diets, and more complex social structures. Birds expanded into the skies, refining flight and spreading across the globe. Reptiles and amphibians adapted to changing climates. Oceans recovered as plankton populations returned, restoring marine food chains. The world did not replace dinosaurs overnight. It took millions of years for ecosystems to regain complexity. But the direction of life had shifted. The balance that once favored massive, specialized creatures now rewarded flexibility, intelligence, and adaptability. And yet, dinosaurs were never truly gone. Every bird that takes flight today carries their legacy. Feathers, hollow bones, efficient lungs, and lightweight skeletons all trace back to dinosaur ancestors. What once walked the land now moves through the air, singing from trees and crossing continents with ease. In this way, the age of dinosaurs never fully ended. It transformed. Their story reminds us that dominance is temporary. Survival depends not on size or strength alone, but on the ability to change when the world demands it. Even the most successful forms of life exist within limits set by the planet itself. Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for more than 160 million years, far longer than humans have existed. Their rise was slow, shaped by patience and adaptation. Their fall was sudden, driven by forces beyond their control. This contrast holds an important lesson. The world is not static. Stability can persist for long periods, but change always arrives. Sometimes it comes gradually, over generations. Sometimes it comes in an instant, reshaping everything at once. Life continues either way. As we study dinosaurs through fossils, footprints, and fragments of ancient bone, we are not just learning about creatures of the past. We are learning about Earth's capacity for renewal, about resilience after loss, and about the deep connections that link all living things across time. The ground beneath our feet carries memories older than imagination. Every layer of rock, every preserved footprint, is a reminder that life has faced endings before and continued forward. Dinosaurs did not fail. They lived, adapted, and shaped the world for longer than most species ever will. Their legacy surrounds us, not as relics, but as living descendants and enduring lessons written into the fabric of life. As this story comes to a close, allow that perspective to remain with you. A reminder that change is not the end of meaning, but often the beginning of something new. Thank you for spending this time exploring the rise and fall of dinosaurs. Their story is complete, but its influence is still unfolding.